Sarah Mitchell had never imagined that her Saturday morning routine would change her life forever. The 26-year-old mechanic from Montana had always been comfortable around firearms, thanks to her father's influence and her own natural curiosity about precision instruments. What started as simple gun maintenance in her garage workshop would soon catch the attention of someone watching from a distance much farther than she could have ever anticipated. The morning air was crisp as Sarah spread out her cleaning supplies on the worn wooden workbench. Her father's old rifle collection hung neatly on the wall behind her, each weapon meticulously maintained and respected. These weren't just tools to her, they were pieces of engineering art that demanded proper care and attention. She had learned this lesson early in life when her father, a retired Army sergeant, first taught her the importance of weapon maintenance. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency as she disassembled her favorite hunting rifle, a custom-built .308 Winchester that she had modified herself over the years. The morning sunlight streamed through the garage windows, illuminating the small metal parts as she laid them out in precise order. Sarah had always possessed an unusual attention to detail, something that had served her well in her career as an automotive mechanic and, now in her hobby of precision shooting. Unknown to Sarah, 3 miles away on a distant hilltop, someone was watching her through a high-powered scope. Marcus Chen, a former military sniper turned private security consultant, had been conducting a routine surveillance exercise in the area when he noticed the methodical way Sarah handled her firearms. What caught his attention wasn't just her obvious skill with the weapons, but the way she moved with purpose and precision that reminded him of his own training. Marcus had spent 15 years in the military, including 2 tours in Afghanistan where his marksmanship skills had saved countless lives. Now, working for a private security firm that specialized in training law enforcement and military personnel, he was always on the lookout for natural talent. The way this woman handled her rifle suggested she possessed something that couldn't be taught, an innate understanding of the weapon's mechanics and potential. Sarah finished cleaning the barrel and began reassembling the rifle with the same methodical precision she used when rebuilding car engines. Each component fit together perfectly, and she could feel the satisfying click of parts aligning as they were meant to. Her father had taught her that a properly maintained weapon was not just more accurate, but also safer for everyone involved. This philosophy had become second nature to her. As she worked, Sarah's mind wandered to her plans for the afternoon. She intended to visit the local shooting range to test some new handloads she had developed. Precision reloading was another skill she had mastered, carefully measuring powder charges and selecting bullets to achieve the best possible accuracy from her rifles. It was a hobby that combined her love of mechanical precision with her competitive nature. Marcus continued his observation, noting how Sarah handled each component of the rifle with respect and confidence. Through his scope, he could see the careful way she checked each part for wear or damage before reassembling the weapon. This level of attention to detail was exactly what he looked for in potential candidates for advanced training programs. Most people treated firearms as simple tools, but this woman clearly understood their complexity and potential. The security consultant had been tasked with identifying civilians who might be suitable for specialized training programs. His company often recruited individuals with natural shooting ability for various roles, from competitive shooting teams to private security details. Sarah's methodical approach and obvious familiarity with firearms made her an interesting prospect, but Marcus needed to see her actual shooting ability before making any recommendations. Sarah completed the reassembly and performed a function check, ensuring the rifle's action operated smoothly. The morning's work had been therapeutic, giving her time to think and plan while keeping her hands busy with familiar tasks. She took pride in maintaining her equipment properly, understanding that precision shooting demanded precision in every aspect of preparation. The garage around her reflected her personality and interests. Tool chests lined one wall, filled with both automotive and gunsmithing equipment. A small reloading bench occupied one corner, complete with precision scales and powder measures. Books on ballistics and mechanical engineering were scattered throughout the space, evidence of her constant quest to improve her understanding of both her profession and her hobbies. Marcus made a decision that would soon change both their lives. Instead of simply filing a report about a potentially talented civilian shooter, he decided to conduct an informal test. If this woman was as skilled as she appeared, she deserved the opportunity to demonstrate her abilities on a more challenging stage than the local shooting range could provide. The plan that formed in Marcus's mind was unconventional but effective. He would set up a series of targets at extreme range, far beyond what most civilian shooters ever attempted. If Sarah could engage targets at distances that challenged even military snipers, she would prove herself worthy of advanced training opportunities. The test would be entirely voluntary, but it would reveal whether her precision extended beyond gun maintenance to actual marksmanship. Sarah locked her rifle in its case and began cleaning up her workstation. The familiar routine brought her satisfaction, knowing that her equipment was ready for whatever challenges she might face. She had no idea that someone was planning to present her with a challenge that would test every skill she had developed over years of careful practice and study. As Marcus packed up his observation equipment, he began planning the logistics of his informal test. The location would need to be perfect, offering clear sightlines at extreme distance while ensuring complete safety for everyone involved. He knew of several remote areas where such a test could be conducted without endangering anyone or violating any regulations. The afternoon sun was beginning to warm the garage as Sarah finished her cleaning routine. She looked forward to her range session, unaware that her careful maintenance work had attracted attention from someone who could open doors she never knew existed. Her methodical approach to firearm care had demonstrated qualities that military trainers spent years trying to instill in their students. Sarah's story was about to take an unexpected turn, guided by a chance observation and the professional judgment of someone who recognized exceptional potential when he saw it. The simple act of cleaning her rifle had set in motion events that would challenge everything she thought she knew about precision shooting and her own capabilities. Marcus drove away from his observation point, already making mental notes about the equipment and support personnel he would need for the test he was planning. Sarah Mitchell was about to discover that her weekend hobby could become something much more significant than she had ever imagined. The careful attention to detail that made her an excellent mechanic would soon be tested in ways that would surprise even her. 3 days after Marcus observed Sarah's meticulous rifle maintenance, he made his approach. The security consultant had spent those days researching Sarah's background, confirming what he had suspected: she was exactly the type of person his company looked for. Her mechanical expertise, combined with her obvious respect for firearms, made her a prime candidate for specialized training programs that most people never knew existed. Sarah was working late in her garage when a black SUV pulled into her driveway. Through the window, she watched a tall, athletic man in casual clothing step out and approach her garage. Something about his bearing immediately told her he wasn't a typical customer looking for automotive repair services. His movement was too controlled, too purposeful, like someone accustomed to dangerous situations. Marcus introduced himself simply as someone who had noticed her shooting at the local range and was impressed by her skills. He explained that he worked for a security consulting firm that occasionally tested civilian marksmen for specialized training opportunities. Sarah listened with growing curiosity as he described programs that could take her shooting abilities to levels she had never considered possible. The conversation that followed revealed Marcus's military background and his current role in identifying talented shooters. He spoke about precision shooting as both an art and a science, requiring not just natural ability but also dedication to continuous improvement. Sarah found herself drawn into a discussion about ballistics, wind reading, and the mental aspects of long-range shooting that lasted well into the evening. Marcus had come prepared with more than just conversation. From his vehicle, he retrieved a tablet computer showing satellite imagery of a remote valley 20 miles outside town. The images showed a natural amphitheater formed by rolling hills, with clear sightlines extending for miles in multiple directions. He explained that this location offered perfect conditions for testing shooting skills at ranges that would challenge even experienced military snipers. Sarah studied the images with the same attention to detail she applied to everything in her life. The terrain looked challenging but manageable, with natural features that would affect wind patterns and bullet trajectory in complex ways. She could see immediately that shooting in such an environment would require skills far beyond what she had developed at the local range, where targets were typically placed at predictable distances under controlled conditions. The proposition Marcus made was both simple and extraordinary. He invited Sarah to participate in an informal shooting test that would evaluate her abilities at extreme range. The targets would be placed at distances up to 4,000 meters, nearly 2.5 miles away. Success at such ranges would qualify her for advanced training programs that could lead to opportunities in competitive shooting, law enforcement training, or private security work. Sarah's initial reaction was a mixture of excitement and skepticism. She had never attempted shots beyond 800 meters, and the idea of engaging targets at 5 times the distance seemed almost impossible. Marcus assured her that the test would be completely voluntary and that failure would carry no negative consequences. The opportunity was simply a chance to discover whether her natural abilities extended to challenges that few people ever attempted. The preparation for the test began immediately. Marcus provided Sarah with detailed information about the equipment she would need, including specifications for ammunition that would be suitable for extreme long-range shooting. He also shared resources about advanced ballistics calculations, weather reading, and the mental preparation required for precision shooting under pressure. Sarah threw herself into the preparation with characteristic intensity. She spent hours studying ballistics tables and learning about factors she had never considered, such as the Coriolis effect and how atmospheric pressure affected bullet trajectory. The science behind extreme long-range shooting proved to be far more complex than she had realized, involving calculations that challenged her mechanical engineering background. The week leading up to the test passed quickly as Sarah absorbed new information and practiced techniques that would be crucial for success. Marcus provided guidance and resources but made it clear that the actual performance would depend entirely on her natural abilities and preparation. He arranged for the loan of specialized equipment, including a rifle specifically designed for extreme long-range shooting and ammunition loaded to precise specifications. Sarah's excitement grew as she learned more about the challenge ahead. The test would involve multiple targets at varying distances, each presenting different challenges in terms of wind reading, elevation calculation, and shooting position. Success would require not just accurate shooting but also the ability to adapt quickly to changing conditions and make complex calculations under pressure. The night before the test, Sarah carefully prepared her equipment with the same methodical attention she had always applied to mechanical tasks. Every component of the rifle was inspected and verified, ammunition was checked for consistency, and shooting accessories were organized for quick access. She approached the challenge with the same professional mindset that had made her an expert automotive mechanic. Marcus arrived early on the morning of the test, bringing with him additional equipment and 2 observers who would help verify the results. The observers were introduced as colleagues from his security firm, both experienced marksmen who understood the significance of what Sarah was about to attempt. Their presence added weight to the occasion and made it clear that this was more than just a casual shooting session. The drive to the test location took them through increasingly remote terrain, past farmland and rolling hills that gradually gave way to the rugged landscape shown in the satellite images. Sarah used the time to review her preparations and visualize the challenges ahead. The morning air was cool and still, promising excellent conditions for precision shooting. As they approached the test site, Sarah could see the natural amphitheater Marcus had described. The terrain offered clear sightlines in multiple directions, with natural features that would provide stable shooting positions while challenging her ability to read environmental conditions. Targets had already been placed at various distances, some barely visible even through binoculars. The setup process revealed the true scale of the challenge. Marcus and his colleagues had positioned targets at distances ranging from 1,200 meters to the maximum range of 4,000 meters. Each target was precisely surveyed and marked, with laser rangefinders used to verify exact distances. The attention to detail in the setup matched Sarah's own standards and demonstrated the professional nature of the evaluation. Sarah's first look through the specialized rifle scope at the distant targets was both thrilling and intimidating. The most distant target was barely visible even at maximum magnification, appearing as little more than a speck against the hillside. The intermediate targets were clearer but still presented challenges that would test every aspect of her shooting skills. Marcus explained the test protocol as Sarah familiarized herself with the equipment. She would have multiple attempts at each target, with scoring based both on accuracy and the ability to make corrections between shots. The test was designed to evaluate not just her marksmanship but also her ability to learn and adapt under pressure. As Sarah prepared for her first shot, she felt the same focused concentration that had served her well in her mechanical work. The complex calculations required for extreme long-range shooting engaged the same analytical mindset that made her an excellent problem solver in her professional life. She was ready to discover whether her skills could rise to meet this extraordinary challenge. The moment of truth had arrived, and Sarah's journey from gun maintenance enthusiast to potential elite marksman was about to be tested in ways that would reveal capabilities she never knew she possessed. The morning sun had climbed higher as Sarah settled into her shooting position, the specialized rifle feeling both familiar and alien in her hands. The weapon was significantly different from her hunting rifles, designed specifically for extreme precision at distances that challenged the laws of physics. Marcus had explained that success at these ranges required not just marksmanship skills but an understanding of complex environmental factors that most shooters never encountered. Sarah's first target was positioned at 1,200 meters, a distance that would have been considered extreme just a few years earlier but now served as a warm-up for the greater challenges ahead. Through the scope, she could clearly see the target's outline against the hillside, but she knew that hitting it would require precise calculations for bullet drop, wind drift, and atmospheric conditions that affected trajectory in subtle but significant ways. The process of preparing for the shot involved far more than simply aiming and firing. Sarah used a rangefinder to confirm the exact distance, consulted atmospheric measurement tools to determine air pressure and humidity levels, and carefully observed wind indicators at multiple points along the bullet's path. Each piece of information contributed to calculations that would determine where she needed to aim to compensate for the bullet's flight characteristics. Marcus observed silently as Sarah went through her preparation routine, noting the methodical way she gathered information and processed it into actionable corrections. Her approach reminded him of the best snipers he had worked with during his military career, professionals who understood that precision shooting was as much about preparation as it was about trigger control. The first shot rang out across the valley, the sound echoing off the surrounding hills as the bullet began its journey toward the distant target. Sarah maintained her shooting position, watching through the scope as the bullet struck the hillside several inches below and to the left of her intended point of impact. The miss was actually encouraging, as it demonstrated that her initial calculations were close enough to provide a starting point for corrections. Sarah's reaction to the miss revealed her analytical mindset. Instead of frustration, she showed immediate curiosity about the factors that had caused the bullet to impact where it did. She requested specific information about wind conditions at different elevations along the bullet's path, understanding that a projectile traveling for several seconds could encounter varying atmospheric conditions that would affect its trajectory. The process of making corrections between shots demonstrated Sarah's natural talent for complex problem-solving under pressure. She adjusted her aim point based on the observed impact, accounting for wind changes and refining her estimates of atmospheric effects. Her second shot struck much closer to the target center, confirming that her analytical approach was producing the desired results. Marcus's colleagues, both experienced marksmen themselves, exchanged meaningful glances as they observed Sarah's performance. The ability to make accurate corrections between shots was a skill that typically took months or years to develop, yet this woman was demonstrating it naturally during her first exposure to extreme long-range shooting. Her background as a precision mechanic was clearly translating into exceptional marksmanship potential. The third shot at the 1,200-meter target was a direct hit, striking within the scoring ring that Marcus had established as the success criterion. Sarah's reaction was controlled satisfaction rather than celebration, showing the focus and emotional discipline that characterized elite shooters. She understood that this was just the beginning of the real challenge that lay ahead. Moving to the 2,000-meter target marked a significant increase in difficulty. At this distance, atmospheric effects became much more pronounced, and even small errors in calculation or execution would result in dramatic misses. The target was barely visible through the scope, requiring Sarah to rely heavily on her range-finding equipment and environmental measurements to establish an accurate firing solution. The first shot at the extended range missed the target entirely, but Sarah's reaction demonstrated her growing understanding of the challenges involved. She immediately began analyzing the factors that could have contributed to the miss, systematically checking her calculations and environmental readings. Marcus provided guidance on advanced techniques for reading wind at extreme ranges, sharing knowledge that was typically reserved for military sniper schools. Sarah's ability to absorb and apply new information impressed everyone present. She implemented Marcus's suggestions about reading environmental conditions, using natural indicators like grass movement and dust patterns to estimate wind conditions at various points along the bullet's trajectory. Her mechanical background helped her visualize the complex physics involved in extreme long-range shooting. The second shot at 2,000 meters struck the target area but outside the scoring ring. Sarah's immediate request for specific feedback about wind reading techniques showed her determination to master the skills required for success. She understood that achieving consistent accuracy at these ranges would require capabilities far beyond what she had previously developed. Marcus provided detailed instruction about advanced ballistics concepts, including the effects of air density changes at different altitudes and the way spinning bullets drift due to gyroscopic effects. Sarah absorbed this information with the same intensity she had always applied to learning new mechanical systems, recognizing that extreme long-range shooting was essentially an applied physics problem with lethal consequences for errors. The third attempt at 2,000 meters resulted in a solid hit within the scoring zone, confirming Sarah's rapid adaptation to the new challenges. Her success at this distance qualified her for advancement to even more extreme ranges, where the margin for error would shrink to almost nothing and the required precision would challenge even experienced military snipers. As they prepared for the 3,000-meter target, Marcus explained that success at this range would place Sarah among a very select group of shooters worldwide. The technical challenges involved in placing accurate fire at nearly 2 miles distance required not just exceptional shooting skills but also advanced knowledge of ballistics, meteorology, and the mental discipline to execute complex procedures under pressure. Sarah approached the 3,000-meter challenge with the same systematic methodology that had brought her success at shorter ranges. She spent additional time gathering environmental data, recognizing that small errors would be magnified dramatically at the extended distance. The target was so distant that it appeared as little more than a pinprick even at maximum scope magnification. The first shot at 3,000 meters missed the target but struck within a reasonable distance, providing valuable information for corrections. Sarah's analysis of the miss demonstrated her growing expertise in reading complex environmental conditions and understanding their effects on bullet trajectory. She made careful adjustments based on observed wind indicators and her evolving understanding of atmospheric effects. Her second attempt at the extreme range target came much closer, striking near the edge of the target area. The shot demonstrated that her calculations were approaching the precision required for success, but also revealed the incredible difficulty of achieving consistent accuracy at ranges that challenged the limits of rifle and ammunition capabilities. As Sarah prepared for what could be her final attempt at the 3,000-meter target, she felt the weight of the moment. Success would demonstrate capabilities that few civilian shooters ever achieved, while failure would represent the limit of her natural abilities. The challenge had already exceeded her expectations and provided insights into shooting disciplines she had never imagined pursuing. The preparation for this crucial shot involved everything Sarah had learned during the morning's progression. She carefully rechecked all her calculations, verified environmental conditions, and visualized the complex trajectory the bullet would need to follow. The shot would test not just her marksmanship but also her ability to execute under pressure when the stakes were highest. The moment before Sarah's final attempt at the 3,000-meter target stretched into what felt like hours, though only seconds passed as she completed her mental checklist. Every environmental factor had been measured and calculated, every equipment setting verified, and every lesson from the morning's progression incorporated into her firing solution. The pressure was unlike anything she had experienced, yet it felt strangely familiar, reminiscent of the intense focus required when diagnosing a complex mechanical problem. The rifle seemed to settle naturally into her shoulder as she found the perfect shooting position. Years of mechanical work had given her an intuitive understanding of how small adjustments could produce dramatic improvements in performance, and she applied this knowledge to fine-tuning her body position and rifle alignment. The crosshairs wavered slightly over the distant target, barely visible even at maximum magnification. Sarah's breathing pattern slowed as she entered the focused mental state that Marcus had described as essential for extreme long-range shooting. The world around her seemed to fade away, leaving only the rifle, the target, and the complex calculations that would guide the bullet across nearly 2 miles of varied terrain and atmospheric conditions. Her finger found the trigger's natural position, applying just enough pressure to take up the slack without disturbing her sight alignment. The shot broke with surprising clarity, the rifle's report echoing across the valley as the carefully crafted bullet began its journey through space and time. Sarah maintained her shooting position, watching through the scope as seconds ticked by, waiting for the visual confirmation of impact that would determine whether her calculations and execution had been sufficient to meet the extraordinary challenge. The bullet's impact kicked up a small cloud of dust directly in the center of the target, producing a perfect hit that stunned everyone present into momentary silence. Sarah had not only succeeded at the 3,000-meter challenge but had done so with a precision that impressed even Marcus, who had seen exceptional marksmanship throughout his military career. The accomplishment was particularly remarkable given that this was her first exposure to such extreme shooting challenges. Marcus's reaction was immediate and enthusiastic, recognizing that he had discovered exactly the type of natural talent his organization sought. Sarah's combination of analytical thinking, mechanical precision, and natural shooting ability made her an ideal candidate for advanced training programs that could lead to opportunities in competitive shooting, specialized law enforcement roles, or private security positions that required exceptional marksmanship skills. The success at 3,000 meters opened the door to the ultimate challenge, the 4,000-meter target that had been positioned at the maximum practical range for the rifle and ammunition being used. Marcus explained that success at this distance would place Sarah among fewer than 100 civilians worldwide who had demonstrated such capability, and would qualify her for training programs that were typically reserved for military special operations personnel. Sarah approached the 4,000-meter challenge with a mixture of confidence and humility. Her success at shorter ranges had proven her capabilities, but she understood that the extended distance would magnify every environmental factor and require execution that bordered on perfection. The target was barely visible even through binoculars, appearing as little more than a speck against the distant hillside. The preparation process for the ultimate shot took significantly longer than previous attempts. Sarah meticulously rechecked every calculation, verified atmospheric readings at multiple elevations, and used all available environmental indicators to estimate conditions along the bullet's extended flight path. Marcus provided additional guidance about factors that became critical only at such extreme ranges, including the Earth's rotation and its effects on very long-range trajectories. As Sarah settled into her final shooting position, she reflected on the incredible journey that had brought her to this moment. A simple morning spent cleaning rifles had led to an opportunity she never could have imagined, challenging her to develop skills and knowledge far beyond anything she had previously considered. The test had already exceeded her expectations and provided insights into her own capabilities that would influence her future in ways she was only beginning to understand. The 4,000-meter shot represented more than just a marksmanship challenge, it was a test of everything Sarah had learned about precision, preparation, and performance under pressure. The distance was so extreme that success would require not just exceptional shooting skills but also a deep understanding of physics, meteorology, and the mental discipline to execute complex procedures when the stakes were highest. Sarah's first attempt at the maximum range target missed, but the impact location provided valuable information for corrections. The miss was actually encouraging, falling within a reasonable distance of the target and demonstrating that her initial calculations were close enough to provide a foundation for adjustment. Marcus and his colleagues remained supportive, understanding that success at such extreme ranges often required multiple attempts even for experienced shooters. The process of making corrections for the second attempt involved careful analysis of every factor that could have contributed to the miss. Sarah demonstrated the same systematic problem-solving approach that had made her an expert mechanic, methodically checking each variable and making precise adjustments based on observed results. Her ability to remain calm and analytical under pressure impressed everyone present. Sarah's second shot at 4,000 meters came significantly closer to the target, striking within the outer scoring ring and confirming that her corrected calculations were approaching the precision required for success. The achievement was remarkable regardless of whether she could improve upon it, as very few people had ever placed accurate fire at such extreme distances using civilian equipment and training. As Sarah prepared for what might be her final opportunity at the ultimate challenge, she felt a sense of calm determination that surprised her. The pressure of the moment was intense, but her confidence had grown throughout the morning as she demonstrated capabilities that exceeded her own expectations. She understood that success or failure would depend on her ability to execute perfectly under the most demanding conditions she had ever faced. The final shot at 4,000 meters was the culmination of everything Sarah had learned during her extraordinary morning. She applied every lesson from previous attempts, incorporated all available environmental information, and drew upon the same analytical mindset that had made her successful in her mechanical career. The shot would test not just her marksmanship but also her ability to perform at the highest level when it mattered most. The bullet's impact at the maximum range target was a direct hit, striking within the center scoring ring and completing a performance that exceeded everyone's expectations. Sarah had not only met the challenge but had done so with a consistency and precision that demonstrated exceptional natural talent combined with the ability to learn and adapt under pressure. Marcus's evaluation was unequivocal. Sarah possessed the rare combination of natural ability, analytical thinking, and mental discipline that characterized elite marksmen. Her performance had qualified her for advanced training opportunities that could lead to careers in competitive shooting, specialized law enforcement, or private security roles that required exceptional precision shooting skills. The journey home was filled with discussion about the opportunities that had opened up as a result of Sarah's exceptional performance. Marcus provided information about training programs, competitive shooting circuits, and career possibilities that she had never considered. The simple act of cleaning her rifle had led to discoveries about her own capabilities that would influence the rest of her life. Sarah's story had transformed from that of a small-town mechanic with a shooting hobby to someone who had demonstrated world-class marksmanship potential. The test had revealed capabilities that few people ever develop, opening doors to experiences and opportunities that had previously been unimaginable. Her careful attention to detail and natural precision had proven to be exactly the qualities needed for success at the highest levels of the shooting sports. The implications of her performance would extend far beyond the immediate opportunities Marcus had described. Sarah had discovered talents and interests that could reshape her entire future, leading her toward challenges and achievements that would have seemed impossible just one morning earlier. The meticulous care with which she maintained her equipment had revealed capabilities that could take her to places she had never dreamed of reaching.